Okay, IRS appeals settlement, usually you settle somewhere in between, okay? And the standard is there a hazard of litigation on the IRS's end? Is the IRS going to win this issue 80% or more of the time? If they're not, if it's a 50-50 issue, they're supposed to compromise it, okay? And it is an issue by issue standard. It's not so much, they're going to look at every issue, every deduction, every particular employee, everything as its own discrete unit, okay? So you're not going to be able to do a universal settlement just because you're going to give them this and not do that. There are things called coordinated issues. If the IRS seems, or the appeals officer sees the same issue over and over again on a particular transaction or a particular way of doing things, they will make a coordinated issue out of it, which means that there's a certain appeals officer that's assigned all those type of cases, and they have their settlement parameters set in stone. Okay, this usually happens when the IRS wins a case in court, and then they change their mind about how. So you really want to avoid coordinated issues. You don't know if it's a coordinated issue until after you protest, unless you've had previous cases. A lot of it is negotiation. You know, I've had appeals conferences that last 15 minutes. I've had them last for 8 hours. Depending on how many issues you're talking about, how much documentation you're going to give, and sometimes you could wear the IRS appeals officer down. What you want in an appeals officer really is a smart, experienced appeals officer. Those are the people that you're going to be able to convince. Inexperienced appeals officer, they're too nervous to pull the trigger on things they're unfamiliar with, and because they're new, they're unfamiliar with a lot of things. The official settlement is a Form 870, which basically says, I agree that I owe X amount in taxes, or I agree that the exempt status should be revoked, or we are a private foundation, something like that. I've never signed one that says we agree that we're no longer exempt, but okay. And if you don't get a settlement you could live with at the appeals level, most times, United States Tax Court is your next stop.